What is up, my friends? It is Sunday evening and you are very welcome along to today's Anfield Agenda News Roundup. The good news, I will be live tonight. It'll either be 8:30 or 8:45, not exactly sure yet, but I think there could be something to talk about, so I don't want to miss out on it. Yes, I've got a bit of FOMO, believe it or not, so I will be live tonight. Until then, we're going to walk you through where Newcastle are at with their pursuit of Benjamin Sesko, why there are other targets in the mix if they don't get him, what Liverpool mean by we're all in on ISAK. Is it ISAK or nobody? It appears so. We'll talk about Darwin Nunez and a couple of other bits and pieces that we hope will keep you up to date with where we are in this summer's transfer window. As always, I want to know your thoughts, my friends, so don't forget to let us know in the comment section. Drop a like on the video if you enjoy it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Our WhatsApp community is about to hit 11,000 members. If you haven't signed up, scan that QR code there on the screen. I've told them some of the stories today in there already and what we may expect. So if you're like me and you got a bit of FOMO about this transfer gossip, you know what to do. Right, let's get cracking. Loads to get through. So Newcastle are at least open to the option of exploring a sale of ISAK by their pursuit of Sesko and Visa, said Craig Hope of the Daily Mail. Newcastle are not going to sign Sesko, Visa and keep ISAK as well. I think now there's a recognition on the Newcastle side of ISAK's determination to move, an opportunity to extract the maximum value, an opportunity to get things right. If things happen that Liverpool offer more money and Newcastle have those replacements lined up, I think we see movement. So as you can see, it is still a little bit dependent on Newcastle. Well, very dependent on Newcastle getting targets, but they have more options outside of Sesko. More on that in a moment. So this is where there's two stories that I wanted to bring to your attention. So the first one comes from Craig Houlden that says, at this stage, it appears unlikely that Liverpool would move for another attacker if they do not sign ISAK. Now, I don't know if I believe this. Not because I'm trying to mock the reporting or anything, but just from a numbers game. If Liverpool don't bring in somebody else as an example, and we sell Darwin, which we know Arna wants to, Diaz is already gone. Obviously, the Diogo situation is self-explanatory. And Chiesa moves on. Well, we know that Arne Slot wants two in every position, so that's definitely leaving us at least two bodies light, in my opinion. If you bring in ISAK, maybe you could make do. You could add in somebody else on the right side. Maybe Frimpong could be the other attacker, but I don't know if I believe this one. It's a numbers game, and I think Liverpool need to have the numbers to really attack it next season. So I think if we don't get ISAK, which, by the way, I think we will get, I fail to believe we don't move on to another target. Right, let's talk about young Rio. So this report again from Greg Evans said that Liverpool are keen to provide a pathway for Rio this season. And look, this is again self-explanatory. Diaz has moved out. Cody Gakpo probably promoted up to the starting left side player. Maybe you could argue was already that, but either way, that's been strengthened for him. And now we have young Rio as an option on the left-hand side. Obviously, Florian Wirtz, as the manager said, can operate there as well. So I think we're okay, and that pathway not being blocked, I think, is a sensible play because Rio is a prodigious young talent. Now let's move on to what I call the idiot story of the day. George Colkin, who I don't know who he is, but apparently Anfield Edition have him as a gold star tier 1 journalist. But this story is, well, it's very much just coping, in my opinion. It's absolute nonsense. Let me walk you through it. So Newcastle 100% believe that ISAK can be reintegrated into the squad. No, they don't. They also have deliberately avoided any public criticism of him by not accompanying the squad to Asia, and he's not been censored for training alone at Real Sociedad. So small club behaviour is what I'm hearing here. And also, don't forget the lies Newcastle told about his injury that really wasn't there and why he wasn't in the matchday squads. But okay, Greg, or George, excuse me, let's just keep going through your waffle. Next up, Newcastle sources believe that the logic behind Liverpool's bid for Alexander Isak, when they previously intimated that they would not pay above that amount, was an attempt by Liverpool to save face with their fans. Now, let me say, George, I am one of those fans, and they don't have to save face. Liverpool have played an absolute blinder in this summer market. And ask anybody in our fan base. I'm probably the biggest complainer about lack of transfers over the last few years. And if I'm sitting here telling you, George, that Liverpool have played a blinder, there's no need to save face. Liverpool fans aren't idiots. They understand that this is a very difficult situation with a record-breaking bid for a player. So if Liverpool don't get ISAK, I'm telling you now, there'll be no tears in our fan base because we understand the club have done everything that they can, and I'm sure we'd move on to another target. But you just keep lying to those Newcastle fans, mate, to make yourself and them feel a little bit better, and we'll all just look on and laugh. Next up, let's go to the Mirror. They say that Liverpool have made a 40 million plus bid for Marc Guehi, but it was turned down. The report says Crystal Palace are looking for upwards of £50 million, or at least £50 million for Marc Guehi. And I think they're playing a dangerous game here. Not just with us. There's other clubs like Newcastle, I think Spurs, maybe a couple of others interested in Marc Guehi. Obviously, England international, talented player in the last year of his contract. But every week that goes by now, Crystal Palace are getting closer and closer to maybe losing him on a free, which we know they can't afford to do. So what happens here? Well, for what it's worth, I think Liverpool shouldn't pay £50 million. 35-40 seems absolutely fair, and I think that's where this ends up in the long run. Obviously, Crystal Palace are going to realise that we're stuck here. The player won't sign the new deal, so they have a decision. Sell him for a bit less than they want, or lose him for free in a year. Not even necessarily to us, but he's going to go anyway. Next up, let's talk Darwin. This report from Graham Bailey said that personal terms have been agreed in principle for Darwin Nunez to head to the Saudi Pro League. Now, we know that Al Hilal and Simeone are very interested in him. We know AC Milan have interest in Italy, but again, who's going to put their money on the table? Well, this piece here from Graham Bailey suggests that at least the terms have been agreed in principle between Darwin and the club over in Saudi. Right, last one here from Sasha Tavalieri, who said, to lower the transfer fee for Ugo Ekitike, Manchester United tried to convince Frankfurt to include Rasmus Højlund in the deal. Same approach was attempted with RB Leipzig. Problem here, though, is that Rasmus Højlund wants to stay and dig his heels in at Manchester United because he wants to play for Manchester United. So it's not really my business here to say what they should or shouldn't do. But again, if I'm a Newcastle fan, I'd be taking heart from this because, well, it's given them a good opportunity here to, again, keep pushing with Sesko and convince him of the project. Craig Hope of the Daily Mail has said, Newcastle spoke to Benjamin Sesko's camp today and it is thought they would like a response within the next 24 hours. The clubs are continuing to negotiate the makeup of a £70 million package with the Bundesliga club. But I did promise you they had a fallback plan if all didn't go to plan with Benjamin Sesko. So we know Visa is somebody they're after. We know Ollie Watkins is another name that Newcastle have been linked with. But Craig Hope has one more to throw into the mix. And this name might sound a little bit familiar. Gonçalo Ramos of Paris Saint-Germain is on Newcastle's list of alternatives, right, Craig Hope, to Benjamin Sesko, should that deal not progress. And again, it's a good target. Good player, and yes, might not be as sexy, let's say, as the name of ISAK or maybe even Sesko, but Gonçalo Ramos is, well, he's a goal scorer, isn't he? Did it with Benfica. Obviously, the way the system is with Enrique at Paris Saint-Germain has limited his opportunities, but he is still a useful squad player over there and a part of that Champions League winning, or I think quad winning, maybe even more at Paris Saint-Germain. So a good player with good pedigree and one that is probably available to move in this summer's window. So that's where we're currently at with all of this. Obviously, we'll go through it in more detail. I have a sneaky feeling that something may happen over the next 5-6 hours. Don't hold me to it. It is just a gut feeling. But something tells me there's going to be movement or a story tonight around ISAK, particularly because he is due to go back to Newcastle training tomorrow. And that's when things start to get really, really awkward because the Newcastle team have obviously been away on the pre-season tour. They had a draw with Spurs and now things are ratcheting up. And I think obviously the fact that we have a double header tomorrow, our focus is going to be there then. Today feels like a day where something could happen and maybe Liverpool come in with a very late bid to try and stop the awkwardness of ISAK going in. But I am going to be an interested observer tomorrow to how that process goes when ISAK reports back to the Newcastle training ground. Will it be him going in training separately from the rest of the squad? Would it be him going in maybe having a meeting with Eddie Howe and some Newcastle higher-ups, then moving away from the club to, again, go to a distance? We've seen this in transfers before. So look, is there a world where he could be integrated back into Newcastle? Maybe, but it's never going to be right, and they're always going to be playing catch-up now because he won't be ready for the start of the season. That's something, even if he comes to Liverpool, I'm accepting as a fan that he wouldn't be ready to go because he's had a very disturbed pre-season, let's say that. So Newcastle, one way or another, are going to have to bring in somebody for the start of the season. So I just don't see any way this doesn't end up with Newcastle eventually selling ISAK to us, whether it's in this window, whether it's in the next window. It's just a formality at this point, in my opinion. Liverpool won't be backing away, Slot won't be backing away, and ISAK won't be backing down. So that's where I'm at, folks. I will see you tonight at some point. Keep an eye out for the notification. We'll talk soon. Much love. Bye-bye.